your guards are down, and they present this little phrase that's incredibly insulting. Hey, welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. Do you ever feel at times that there's stuff going on in your brain that you don't know about and you don't like? Well, it's probably true. In the society that we are in now, many people have become very advanced in their wordcraft. There was a point in time in our history where wordcraft was like the means of control. And that's how you controlled large amounts of people who were very uneducated. And then these people who had this level of education and their wordcraft was very advanced. And when I say wordcraft, it's not just the ability to use large words or to explain things well or to be a great storyteller or just to be able to talk a lot of gab or the gift of gab. All those fall underneath the ability to use language well. But wordcraft is when people are taught the method of how to say certain words that activate emotions inside of you, that activate bad feelings or good feelings. And then they delve deeper into wordcraft by using that craft to confuse a person, to make their brain feel jumbled up. For instance, there is wordcraft that's designed with tonality in cells that completely drops your guards, where you start trying to figure out and ask yourself question of, how do I know this person? When a salesperson may call and be like, hey, it's Paul Miller. And the tonality is delivered as in, it's me. Hey man, it's me. It's like, hey man, it's Paul Miller. Then the brain starts going, hey, how do I know them? Where do I know them from? And then they start to think, oh, I must know them. So your mental guards are dropped and you let them in inadvertently. So that's one type of wordcraft. But then there's other wordcraft that will be said that will put you on the defensive, and your defensives go up. And you immediately start trying to find out, like, why is this person saying this? What did I do? And you start going through all of your data banks trying to figure out what happened. Why are they treating me this way? And then they'll quickly turn around and give you a compliment and say they're just playing. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. But then it leaves this question in your brain of like, why did they do that? I don't understand it. And so it's actually a cruel thing to do to somebody that you might consider a friend, to use wordcraft like that, to go in with an insult and then go in with a compliment and then another insult and try to accuse the person of something passively that they didn't even do. And then go in and give them a compliment. Like, oh, that's how I treat my friends. But this confuses the brain and makes it difficult for the brain to react to that and respond. And then it puts the person in the position of almost like a child of like, what did I do? Why am I in trouble? When in reality, this is only done to try to somebody to position themselves mentally over you. And it gets even deeper than that. And I want to give you a mental tool to protect against that. And sometimes you have to go in and unwire or find the spot that those words went in your brain and unlace them, basically, because it's designed to jack up in the brain and cause confusion in somebody. So there's another type of wordcraft that creates a foothold, and we're going to get into the spiritual realm here. Craft work, and I'm going to say the word witchcraft, and there's other practitioners out there who hide this. and it delves into the spiritual realm, because there is occulted knowledge that's secret, of how to deal in the spiritual realm and use it to a person's advantage through gaining mental superiority on somebody. And it's actually not superiority. It only feels that way because it gets lodged in your brain for days, and it gives them an advantage because they've frustrated you for days. But in reality, the people that use this type of craft work are very, very low level. It's very... it's very manipulative and dark, in my opinion, to deal in craft work in the spiritual realm with words. So, have you ever been in a situation where somebody starts talking to you and they just start explaining something and you're like, I don't get it. Like, why is this person talking to me? Why are they explaining this? And they're going to all this great detail, and you start seeing it in your brain and explaining it. And then they start asking questions. Let me back up one little bit. They're gaining access to your imagination by starting to explain something and saying, do you understand? Do you get it? Do you understand? Yeah. And you're just trying to be polite, but they're building an image in your mind. They've got control of your imagination. Their words are creating a picture. So now they're creating a foothold in your mind, and they have better access into your mind. And then the next thing usually that happens is, you don't know about that? You don't know about that? So they've gained access to your imagination. Your guards are dropped. They're in there. Or your creativity. And then they insult you in a very deep way. They turn their head and they just simply say, oh, do you know where this is? Oh, you don't know about that? And then it puts you back in this like mentality of being a kid of like, now I feel dumb because I don't know about this. Well, that's cruel. It's not nice to do that. And again, it's to try to position themselves with their wordcraft to a position of superiority because I've just explained something to you. I've gained access to your imagination and your mind. And then I just proved that you don't know about that. And I do. Guess what? The universe is so massive. The people that do that, they only know a drop in the bucket of all the information to know. Let's just compare it to how many songs exist now. It's impossible to know every single song. So somebody that tries to present themselves as superior by asking, you don't know about that? There's worlds that they don't know about that. And there is a high probability that they already feel inferior to you. And that's the reason they're using this tactic to make you feel bad. Or to try to position themselves in a place of superiority. Okay, so that is how a foothold can be created in your mind. And there's other ways to create footholds in your mind. And through spiritual craft work, which is dark, that is occulted and secreted, because it's like we get in our dark little rooms and we share our secrets, and you got to do these weird little things to prove your loyalty to your cult or whatever you want to call it, to get them in there. And they will say phrases and say things designed to frustrate you and get stuck in your mind, and then they can use that energetic tether that they created in your mind, and they can draw on that. Have you ever heard somebody say something to you that's just insulting, but it's so subversive and passive? If you say anything back, they'll be, oh, why are you acting that way? It's designed to gaslight. It's like playing chess in your mind. If you say anything back, they have all these pre-planned things to come back with to make you look just either dumb or stupid, and they insult you. Or it's usually in a pressing situation when there's a lot going on, your guards are down, and they present this little phrase that's incredibly insulting, or something of like just talking to you like a child when you're an adult, when you actually shouldn't talk to children like that either way. You should honor and respect children, and you shouldn't hit them. My parents, by the way, if you watch this, they're, not good people. Anyway, I should edit that out, but it's the truth. So when the practitioners will use their words to create a foothold of insult in your mind, and there's a lot going on around you, they pop that on you really quick, and in your brain, you're like frustrated. And over a few days, you're getting very frustrated, and you want to say something, but you don't want to say it. It's like, why is that frustrating me so much? Well, energetically, they are pulling your frustrated, and they feed off of that energy. They're pulling that frustration. There is a whole world that you cannot see or touch, but you can sense it. And there's a whole world of knowledge that is kept secret from the masses of how to do that in the spiritual realm. And they will feed off of that and feed off of that. So what do you do about that? Like, how do you step past that and build the mental guards to protect you from that happening? Well, here's one. I believe I've shared it twice before, but I'm going to share it again. If somebody starts talking to you and you don't know why, and they're starting to build this mental picture in your mind, and you don't want it, and there's no reason for them to be explaining this to you, well, start drawing springs in your mind. Because what you're doing is your mind and brain have been programmed to hear words and build pictures. But it doesn't have to do that. That's an external factor that's taking over your internal operating systems. So, here is a suggestion. Make 2 lights in the top of your mind as they are talking. Sit there, zone out, just nod, yeah, whatever. You don't owe them anything. Turn these lights on in the top of your mind, and then have these lines come down that are springs. And they should stop at the bottom of your skull. And then turn another light on in your imagination. What you're doing is you're cutting out every single word they are saying, and they are not allowed to create any foothold in your mind that can be used to insult you or draw on you energetically from your mind and frustrate you. Because then if they ask, oh, you don't know about that? Well, man, I was drawing springs in my brain. So my response is, there is so much in the world that I don't know about that, or that I don't know about. That's not surprising. So basically, you're coming back with, it is absolutely okay that I don't know about that. So your insult does not land. Now, let's take the next one. If somebody says something super insulting to you or try to dominate you in a conversation with trying to treat you like a child in one of those rushed situations, and then over the next few days it just gets stuck in your mind, first understand it was designed to be frustrating in your mind. So just understand that first off. You've done nothing wrong. You are not at fault. Just check that box in the first place. Like, oh, I've done nothing wrong. This has been designed to linger in my brain, to draw on energetically. And then next, instead of starting to go through this massive list of all the things you could come back and say, well, why did you say this? Why did you do this? Because most of the time you're going to be stonewalled. There's going to be no apology or no concessions of, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. That was rude. It's just going to be like, oh, why do you feel that way? Do you feel inferior? Why would you even say that? So now what they do is they will invalidate and invalidate. So now here's the thing. It's your mind. You're up there. You have to untangle the garbage that they did. You have to focus on it and acknowledge the way it makes you feel. And say, oh man, like, I feel really frustrated about this. And then you say this and experience what that feels like. And then you tell yourself, you know what? It's okay to feel that way, because what they said was designed to frustrate and entangle my mind for several days. And there's a high likelihood that it's a practitioner that's drawing on you energetically. And then what I would like you to do is imagine you're a 90-year-old version of yourself. And then as that 90-year-old version, look at that other person that has been very rude and used wordcraft, which is highly manipulative, and just be like, oh, man, they don't even know what they're doing. They're missing out on a great friend. And when you do that, you actually release and undo the work that they did. And it just falls away, and that frustration goes away. And then you move into it, be like, oh, you know what? I'm probably not going to interact with this person again. Or if you have to interact with them, you start taking steps to set up guards for the next time you interact with this person. Because once they've built a foothold, they're going to want to keep going. They're going to want to keep going. But once you destroy that foothold, and then you're able to activate your mental guards, they stop messing with you because they realize like, oh, I can't get in their brain. Because there is more to your brain than just like what most people are thought. There's 2 layers to it. Actually more. There's your mind, which is like in your energetic body. It's your mind. And then you have your brain. And people know how to mess with that in a very crafty manner. And they've been taught that. And they've gotten very, very advanced in that. But now in our society, it's like a cancer. Just a cancer. It's like, who can I trigger? Who can I talk to say these words to frustrate them? And like I said earlier, most of the time, it's done to somebody that they are intimidated by. So it's like, in the grand scheme of the universe, you feel superior because you used your words to insult me and get me frustrated in my mind for a few days. Well, okay, cool. You don't win. Like, it's not a win-win there for somebody. All it is a cheap way to position themselves to feel superior. But then the goal is for us to not do that for anybody else. As in, or not do that to anybody else. As in, we don't sit around and thinking about things that will frustrate and make somebody angry just to drop those few words like a little nuke in their mind. I'm guilty of that in the past, but I'm working on not doing that. And it's a much cleaner way to communicate. Because I've heard it said that people remember how you made them feel and not what you said. So when you walk away from somebody just feeling like trash or garbage for days, well, they just created a memory of themselves in your mind that now they access like, I do not like that memory of them. So we need to be thinking about ourselves like, how are we going to create memories in other people on how we made them feel? And I guarantee you there are countless hours in other people's brains from my past that I did not make people feel good, because we are all guilty of not saying the right thing at the right time, because we're human. We're not perfect. We're not. So, in wordcraft, they're in energetic craft, and it's kind of a combination of energetic craft and wordcraft. And they can draw and feed on that, and it makes them feel superior and position themselves. And they use it in business as well, where they can very craftily interject themselves in a conversation with somebody to instigate emotions. And so when this person just flares up mad, they've been doing these very, very subtle things verbally to create footholds in the mind for a while. And then their good work comes to fruition when the person gets mad and blows up. And in the workspace, they're like, oh, well, why are you acting like that? You have no reason. Why are you doing that? And other people see it, and they're like, oh man, like, why are they yelling at them? That other person's nice. Well, it's been a guise. They have this overarching shell of niceness and kindness, but they have these like very, very crafted, subtle words that are delivered to incite emotions. And somebody that is not highly emotionally controlled and understands how emotions are an energy and how to immediately transmute that emotion or to let it wash away immediately will not know how to handle those big emotions that are verbally being created. It's pretty dirty stuff. So it's like, I want to say that like sororities and frats and different communities that have to do like a little ritual to get in, they start teaching that stuff. It's not every one of them, but you wonder how somebody, they have all that power and they move up. You know, it's like they're just powerful. It's like, well, a lot of it is wordplay and stealing other people's power through inciting frustration or not allowing anybody else's words in their mind. There's like true power, then there's stolen power, and then there's fake power, and then there is like just a facade of power, like a weak ego that can be cracked very easily. So, wordcraft. Oh man, I've gone on for 21 minutes. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you think about it, munch it over, and you can find this stuff can be applicable in your daily life. And basically, you take your power back, and you do not allow people into your power. And when I say power, when you do anything in the world, you're transferring energy. Your thoughts are energy. And if somebody can get in there and get you frustrated and energetically pull that with energetic ties, then they're sapping and draining your power. So cut people out of your power with these mental tools and techniques. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, ask them below. I just felt led to share that today. And Roadhouse, good times.